As of late, I've actually really been missing IRO Yu-Gi-Oh! So today, Distant Coder and myself are heading down to 401 Games to pick up some cards I pre-ordered, and you are coming along for the ride.
Yo, I have a question for you.
Do you want a bag for these or for your? The sleeve smuggler. Yeah.
So we are back, gorgeous day, and we picked up structure decks on a whim, but more importantly, we did get our singles. So we are going to open these together with mail time. Now, we have quite the collection to run through, starting with the Bestios. I personally love the artwork, and I do think that there'll be a competitive engine for quite some time to come. To complement the engine, though, I also picked up the Despia core, as the two archetypes do seem to have an abundance of synergy. Next, we do have the extra deck staples, like that of Barone. Rest in peace to my wallet. And while we're talking about competitive cards, I also picked up the Tier and Ishizu core, as I do generally have a grand affinity for non-linear combo decks. Finally, we did receive an extended art trap hole, courtesy of House of Champs. John, as always, a big thank you. So we have a lot of cards to start playing with. So we picked up quite a few cards. Admittedly, I had some catching up to do, but now I'm going to sleeve these up because I have friends coming over, a lot of which I think you'll actually be quite familiar with, and we'll get some play testing in.
Yep.
There's a lot of... It's like a lot of random rolls. Am I up on there? Yeah. 4-1.
Kevin, this hand looks illegal.
Bro, don't worry about it, I'm banned.
I need more cards, please. It's really fun there.
So tonight, Gabe, Coder, Milano, Abdul, Bear, and Takuna all came over to playtest some Ishizu mirrors, as the cards were just released earlier that day, and what immediately stood out about the deck was its abundance of option. We would open a hand, three of us would look at it, and we would all want to play it in a different way, which I love. I think it's so cool that we have a deck that prompts this much option rather than a one-card starter deck that essentially does the same 17-step combo every single time. It seems to really reward the more skilled player, and it also doesn't feel like the Gamba meme, because you end up milling to the point where you actually hit every name more than once anyway. So we also tested some Despia. Kevin enjoyed Floodgate Birds, and of course, we had some pizza.
Pardon?
Oh, okay.
To Ishizu, guys! Woo! Let's go!
The funniest thing is, like, your engine, do you even play like regular Cyberjack?
That was a very enjoyable evening. I always say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is at its best when it is a conduit for connection, and I love those guys. For locals this week, I think we're going to try Tier Limit Ishizu. I know a lot of you aren't going to love that, but I really want to give the deck a try. I want to learn what the choke points are. I want to explore it so I know how it works, so I know when I'm playing something like Heroes next episode, or Bestial Despia, or one of two other secret decks that I really want to try, I'll actually know how to interact with it. Also, I think I really will enjoy this deck. I like it a lot in testing. I like a non-linear combo, and we are going to play some spice in the form of Mask Change 2. It's going to be awful to mill. It's going to be really bad going second, but I don't think I can pass up an opportunity to play with Darklaw. As you know, it's one of my favorite cards, and if we can fit it in, we're going to give it a try. As you can tell behind me, the sun is setting. We do need to get to locals, so we're going to get packed up and have some fun. Okay, I'm cutting timing close here. However, I did just get a package from Imperium. I know what's inside, and I have to open it. Now, as a lot of you know, I have a huge affinity for anything in a nice gold palette, and when I saw they were going to release this, I knew I had to have it. The gold foiling is really clean. It has a lot of pages, and I'm actually going to be switching my GOAT collection into it, as I've been looking for something a lot more secure than what I was using. The quick review is that it's secure. I love the aesthetic, and it's genuinely my new favorite binder. That said, I need to get to locals right now because I was impulsive, and when I get mail, I need to open it. So I'm sure some of you can relate, but I will see you at locals. That would have been funny. Now you should Match 1, Game 1. I went first, opened great, and used Sheeran to pitch Mudora, so I would be safe if my opponent had Havness. From there, I milled and decided to use Kelbeck, as I had both Shufflers engraved, making me relatively safe in the mirror. My opponent ended up being on Sword Soul with main deck Dimensional Fissure and Necro Valley, which feels a little targeted. But anyway, I ended on a Dweller, Elf, Barone, and Soyak. He dropped a Lightning Storm, which I negated, then activated Necro Valley. I changed Mudora to Spinateer, which triggered the Pearl Rhino to pop the Valley before its effects could resolve. From there, we had a bit of a grind game, but I did break through a Barone, Chichao, and Blackout, then proceeded to swing in for 8,300, taking Game 1 of the match. Game 2, I used an Orange Light to stop a Moye and discarded a Kelbeck, so we both milled 5. I made a Mud Dragon as a free 4 on my turn. Unfortunately, that was not a good play because he had an Ecclesia, which led to a Taya, a Baxia, and a Dimensional Fissure, which I simply couldn't play through. So we are going into Game 3, we are going into time, and his deck plays Long Young, so we are not taking that one.
It's already bad enough that Planet's fucking.
Well, I put a good fight again.
Okay, I'm not sure what this is.
After losing in time, had to step it up. So match 2, my opponent won the dice roll, set 2, and passed. I summoned a full board, started swinging for 35, 23, and 14, which left him with 8. Luckily, I had this. He did have a Super Poly, but I had all various attributes, so we were safe on that one. Game 2, he went first. I broke through the board and attempted to go to battle. He couldn't use Nib because of my Rukalos, and we were able to take the match. That one was pretty quick, but after we did play some fun games, he did win one using a really cool deck, which I do hope to feature soon on the channel. Also, just a really warm, friendly guy in general, which I love. Real pleasure playing against him. What's your favorite card?
My favorite card is Cactus Bouncer. No one thinks this card is good. I think this card is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely Pot of Desires. Card, it's free. It's so free.
Cyber Dragon Infinity.
Dark Hole, because it is the best Mystic Mine out in the game.
So we are 1-1. Match 3 is against Nichiri Ishizu. I won the dice roll, activated Scream, and pitched Kaudo for Sheeran, which offered mill protection. From there, mills did occur, as well as a wild grind game, which ended with him taking it with the Nichiri Synchros. A bunch of cards that I'm not totally familiar with yet, but I am learning. Game 2 was another grind game, which I actually was able to take in time, but I have to say, it was a fantastic match. I misplayed a lot, I learned a lot, and my opponent was an absolute pleasure to sit down with. He was informative, patient, and just a really good guy in general. One of those people you hope to play regardless of if you win or lose, because you'll just learn a lot in that process and you'll enjoy that process as well. So big shout out to him. Hope to have him on the channel a lot more frequently. What's your favorite card?
Chaos Emperor Dragon.
Skyscraper Ace Ray, because Ray is Bay.
Ray. Sky Striker Ace Ray for sure.
That's 2 for Ray.
Oh, you know, I gotta do it for her. Sword Souls have been good. Have been treating me well ever since I bought the deck. Gotta do it for her.
No, Rose. Rose, you guys.
Rose is 10 months old?
But Ruby Carbuncle though. Okay.
Isn't that a cat?
How do you feel about the community you fostered here?
I didn't foster anything. They showed up like, I don't want to say flies, but they were like fruit flies.
We are now 1-1-1. Match 4, Game 1. I relied a little too heavily on making a Dark Law and end up getting my board broken, then get OTK'd by Branded Bestial Despia, which is again a deck I do want to feature on the channel quite soon. Game 2, I opened quite well, ending on an Elf, Barone, Dweller, Merly, Pearl Rhino, and a double trap. However, he actually pushes through said board with a droplet, his Bestios, and the fusions. Then I get to regain control of the board and we just start taking it from there. That said, the guy I'm playing against, I love him. He has so much presence in a room. I actually wish he was recording this instead of me, because he just do such a good job at it. But real pleasure playing this match. We would go to a game 3, but yet again, time is called, and I think that's really just a symptom of the first week of Ishizu. I'm reading a lot of cards, they're reading a lot of cards. It's essentially just reading Turbo, something I know Yu-Gi-Oh players not typically familiar with, but I think going into time this frequently can definitely be solved in the very near future once everybody's familiar with the cards. And I'll also note, I actually love this format. Maybe a hot take, but it feels very interactive. I never feel like I'm waiting for my opponent to do 20 things before I can start. I feel like I can always kind of jump in there, and that's really cool. I feel like the game is evolving, but to a more interactive place. So we will continue to learn the format, but I do also want to try decks like Hero, Bestial, Despia, Dark World is coming out pretty soon. Madolche looks pretty cool. The Vernisylph cards also seem really good. So if you haven't, subscribe, because we're going to bring these decks to locals and just really enjoy that sense of community, which to me is always the best part of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is the conduit to going out and just seeing 10 to 20 friends every single week. It's amazing. I love it. I hope you join me on this journey, and I thank you for being here. So as always, peace and love. Be safe, be happy, and continue to work towards your goals.
Where can people play Yu-Gi-Oh! Monday, Thursday, and Saturday?
Here at Go for Game, downtown, right in the middle of Chinatown. Mondays at 6 p.m., Thursdays at 6 p.m., and Saturdays at 3 p.m.
Brilliant. Thank you.